Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a rise in popularity of these rinseless wash products. They're an alternative method to do a contact wash on your car from traditional car soaps or shampoos. Now, these products are actually no frills, low foaming, but their claim to fame is an enhanced lubrication or dirt encapsulation system over traditional soaps and car washes. The advantage of these is that you can use them without having to rinse your car. So in water restricted areas, they come in very handy to some people, or people that live in blocks of flats and don't have access to free flowing water. Traditionally, you mix them out in a bucket at their usage ratio and perform the contact wash with them. But you can incorporate them into traditional pre-wash systems and then use them after that as the contact wash. So for that reason, they're growing in popularity, but they add no additional cost. And indeed, overall, if you just use a rinseless wash to clean your car, you will save money. Now, in this video, we have 12 market-leading products that we're going to be putting through a series of tests in order to find what I think is perhaps the best rinseless wash on the market. Let's get stuck in. A warm welcome, guys. As always, before we get started, do not forget to subscribe. We're going to jump straight in and go through from product number 12 in the rankings through to the first product. How have we tested these, guys? Well, we've done a cost per wash comparison. Price is always the undisputed factual piece of information that's very quick to go and pull and give you that data. So it should always be there in any comparison test. And if it isn't, I always ask myself when I'm watching a review why it's not there. You may not care about price, but it should be there so we can place each of these products in the market. We're also doing a cleaning power test on our dirt simulator. We're doing a marring scratch test. We're doing a normal usage test on the same car with the same protection to try and gauge the slickness when wet, the slickness when drying, and the level of hazing that you get from the film of the material on the panel. We're also going to be going through testing the quality of the user instructions, how these brands invest in telling you other means and other things you can do with these rinseless washes, which is important because they're quite a versatile product. We're also going to be looking at dirt release. Some of them have like encapsulation technology, which seems to help pull some of the dirt out of your wash media, so we can measure them on that as well. We then add up all the marks. The one with the most marks tends to win. The one with the least amount of marks tends to lose. So we're going to go straight on now and start with the product with the least amount of points. So in last place, guys, is the Autoglym QuikRefresh. Now we'll do another video about coming last and coming first and the subjectiveness and all of these kind of tests and all that sort of stuff. But I've just got to plough through why this is down here. Now it picked up the most points because if you come first, I gave it 1 point in the category. So low score actually wins. So I just want to make that clear. Now we start with the cost per wash. This product costs around £15.54 from Halfords, roughly. Okay, which translates to around £31 per litre. The market average per litre on all these products is around about £26. So it's expensive to buy the actual chemical. The user ratio is slightly lower, around a calculated 1 to 200. The cost per wash works out around £2.33 for 15 litres, making it the most expensive test. And the average cost per wash is around about £1.50. So it's well off the pace there. So it got a sort of like a 1-star rating in price or value for money. Next up on the cleaning power test, I ranked it 6th out of 12 based on the testing I did. So it does have a bit of cleaning power there comparative to some of these products, but there's some monsters in that category. So that's not a bad showing. The dirt release test, it didn't release the dirt as well as some of the others that have a noticeable difference, and it came 10th in that particular test. Now the user experience as well, I think Autoglym could improve on that. They don't get the word rinseless on the bottle at all, and if you're new to all this and you see it on the shelf, you might not immediately know what it is, or you might be looking for the word rinseless wash in the title, which is what it is, so they can put that on there. There is a reliance on you using that Insta-Dry wash media and dry media. And I've said before, that never gets it quite bone dry, and I think there'll be a preference to using other media, which is fine, but they do stress the use of Insta-Dry, even an additional note at the bottom saying that it's really recommended you use it for best results. I think it's mentioned about 3 or 4 times. I would like them to include a ratio on the bottle. I'd like all the products and brands to do that. They don't. They get you to measure via capfuls, so if you're not using their overall quantity, it's a bit harder to calculate how much to use. So I'd always put a ratio on there. They also don't give you any sort of other guidelines on how you could use this. Perhaps give me a concentration for using it as a clay lube and all those other categories that you can use these rinseless washes for. When you put this down on the panel, I felt the slickness level was good. I felt the dry buff wasn't as slick as some of them, so I gave it a 5-star out of 5 for the slickness on the panel, a 4 for the dry buff. But there was a noticeable kind of haze with the material that's kind of left and a slower vape of that haze. But when it does disappear, it didn't leave any streak marks. So I gave it 2 out of 5 on that haze. In summary, I think the Autoglym product is just slightly too expensive. So coming in 11th place is the DIY Detail Rinseless Wash. Now this picked up 50 points, so 4 less than the Autoglym, and it does have some good features, this product. Now again, the price, it's picked up a 1-star rating on that. It cost me $16.95 for 473ml, which is a rough price per litre of £35.84, with our average of around £26. And a cost per wash of around £2.11, with an average being about £1.50. Okay, so it's going to cost you a lot of money to use this. There is no litre offering size as well as the Autoglym, so it has to be scaled up to the nearest litre size. Some of these products are not available in bulk, so that's the only fair comparison we can do. And a litre of product as a standard will last you a long time as well. It tends to be the quantity I buy. Cleaning rating, I gave this 3 stars overall because there's little difference, but it actually came up in testing as 11th place on cleaning power, which is interesting. On the dirt release, however, it was 2nd. So this may have really good, technology in it, which is able to pull out the dirt, if you like, and that will be one of the key reasons I think that you might like this product. The user experience, I think they could benefit from putting the ratio on the bottle, because if you put fluid ounces over in the UK, you've got to convert that into millilitres, and there's European fluid ounces, US fluid ounces, and then you've got the whole gallon thing. So I think every product should benefit by just putting 1 to 256, which is a ratio of this. That's what all the calculations are based on. They've also on the label really not invested in telling you all the alternative things that you could use rinseless wash for. In fact, the only thing they've delved into is using it in a foam cannon to put it on the car first, which is a really cool thing that you can do. So it allows a bit of pre-soaking. On the panel, guys, I felt this was perhaps as slick as any of them when it's all wet and you're sliding it over. Dry, perhaps not quite as slick as some of them. And there was a slightly slower vape of the materials, but one up from the Autoglym. So wet, dry and haze, it was 5-3-3. Autoglym was 5-4-2. And there was also a marring test in this, and this product, there was a whole load of them that I didn't see any improvement on marring. So they all came sort of joint last in that category. In fact, the vast majority of them, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Same with the Autoglym, so it got 7 points on the marring. So to summarise the DIY Detail, I think it's a little bit too expensive for me, even though it's slightly cheaper than the Autoglym, and they both have no litre option. Give us more user instruction functions. I think also remove wash and shine from it, because wash and shine implies it's a wash and shine product to me. But from DIY Detail, this product leaves nothing behind, and the shine is supposed to mean that when it's clean, it's shining. But what happens if it's a matte car or a single stage car, or the paint is terrible? So you can't guarantee just washing it will give you a shiny car. But traditionally in the wash industry, wash and shine means it's a wash and shine product. So yeah, just call it a wash product. On a positive note with DIY Detail, there are some real positives. They link to social media on their bottle, which got them a mark, but their social media is probably superb, and I'd say they're leading the way in telling you how to use this. So if you forget about what's written on the bottle and you want to learn about rinseless washes, you'd be crazy not to be following DIY Detail on their socials. And the other positive that I think is exceptional in that dirt release category. So that's the DIY Rinseless Wash. It's a good product, but it's a competitive field, and I'm going through and giving you all the markings and reasons, which we can talk about later on in another video. So that's DIY detail. So next up, in 10th place, is the McKee's 37N914. It's a real technical brand name. Now, I've been using this for the last 2 years as the rinseless wash that I've got of choice, and I have no problems with it. I think it's wonderful, which just goes to show how close this test is, you know, that it's come 10th. Now, in terms of price, this is bang on the average price. It costs around £26.37p per litre. You have to convert it up a little bit because you only get 946ml in this bottle, which is about bang on the average. Its cost per wash is around £1.56, which is just a tiny fraction above the average. You use it at 1 to 256, a bit like the DIY detail for its normal rinseless wash. In the cleaning test though, it had the least effect on my dirt simulator and came in 12th, which has probably affected it in this test. However, it was 7th in the dirt release test, so there were better products at clearing out that dirt from the wash media than the McKee's. In the marring test, with a whole load of them, it formed that base level where there was about sort of 5 or 6 in joint last place. So I couldn't see any improvements on wash-related marring with the testing I did, and I'll talk more about that later on. The user experience. Great that they've got all ratios on there. They tick the box on giving you about 4 other means that you can use this for panel wipe. You can use it for clay lube, waterless wash, as well as rinseless, all that sort of stuff, which is what I want to see. Clear statement on ratios, and a clear statement saying that this product leaves nothing behind on the panel, which I think all the brands could take note of that. And we're all looking for that statement as a little kind of bit of reassurance, or maybe not reassurance, but it might be a characteristic that we want. There is one other big flaw with the user experience. This is the only product that actually has 0 user instructions on it, just literally provides you with the usage ratios and assumes that you can figure out the rest. Well, people that are new to this might not know how to use it. Like, you've got to give some instructions, so that really did affect them. On the panel, I felt this was virtually as good as any of them. So we've done wet wipe, dry wipe, and haze. I gave it a 5-star, 5-star, and 4 on the haze. There was just a couple that were slightly less hazy, but 4's still a good mark. So yeah, you won't have any problems if you use the McKee's. It'll be bang on the money for its price, but it's not going to save you any money. They can improve the instructions. Perhaps, yes, a little bit more cleaning power might be nice, but this is a quality rinseless wash that I don't think anyone out there could have a problem with. It's just, if they're going to win the test, I need to be able to measure some exceptional performance, and perhaps the cleaning power there is the thing that's affected it the most. But every test is a chance to impress. So you're perhaps going to have to impress and offer good value if you're going to win. So that's the McKee's in 10th place. So next up, in 9th place, PPS Absolute Rinseless Wash. Now, first of all, I've given this a 4.5 star out of value. The translated cost per litre price, again, because it's 943 millilitres or whatever, is around £20.07. And the cost per use is around £1.18. For an American brand, that's really good value. And I think it's actually the 3rd most cost-effective product in this test. You generally use it again at the magic ratio of 1 to 256. I ranked the cleaning power as 8th from the testing I've done on that, so it's in the lower order with its ability to clean off my dirt simulator. And it didn't perform well at releasing dirt from the microfiber. Sorry, it's this one here. It left the most kind of contamination, if you like, in the wash media. So maybe it doesn't have that encapsulation technology, and it's reliant on other forms of lubrication. And going on to that point, Optimum Polymer Technologies, O&R, did a video showing their product in a glass of water full of dirt and pouring the product in and seeing it separate, therefore encapsulate the dirt and the water. And then another product which you could see in people in the comments identified from the bottle, and you could see the corner of the label of the P&S product, pouring it into a glass and stirring it, showing it not separating the water from the dirt, whatever that mixture of dirt was. It looked like clay and water to me, but whatever it was. And that might be because it doesn't contain the same polymer technology, but that's fine. What you shouldn't do as a brand is show other brands' products not doing something without a thorough explanation. But you should make sure you hide the brand properly, or else you're kind of elevating your brand by bashing the other ones, and I don't like that. So, but yes, I did also notice that it doesn't seem to release the dirt, but it's okay for me to say it because that's what I'm trying to test in this video. Marring, it was in that sort of joint last where they all got 7 marks, and it formed a base where I couldn't see any improvement on the Mar testing that I did on the test panel there. However, the user experience, in terms of the instructions and the versatility of the product, were the best in this competition. They always seem to write a really good preamble on what the product is, and they give you a really good preamble on the pre-wash. And I've got a separate video where I go through and you can see how I've ranked these on user experience. But they also make the ratios very clear, and they give you a whole number of examples, like you can use this as a clay lube, for example. It's got water softeners in it, and all these other kind of things you can do with them. A quick detailer at 1:64 at different ratios, and I like it when they do that. No links on the bottle, QR codes to social media, so they could put that on and do a video on it which goes into even more detail, and some of the brands have been rewarded for that. On the panel, I felt wet. It was as slick as any of them. I felt dry. The buffing wasn't as slick as some of them. So again, it's 5-5-5 if you get top marks, wet, dry and haze. I gave this a 5-3-3. Again, a slightly more increased haze level. Nothing that's a problem, but some of the other products, after you've wiped them over, they're almost crystal clear, and then you dry them and there isn't that haze residue that you're waiting to remove. So overall, very good value, very good user experience, not the best cleaner, not the best at releasing dirt. There is another thing with this, and someone else picked up on it in the comments. If you shake it all up and put it in your bucket and mix it, you get these little blobs in it, and those blobs, when you're stirring it around with your wash media, break down and disappear. But you can get little tiny dots of surfactant still in there, so it's less soluble in water than some of the other ones. Again, I didn't notice it as a problem, but I did put it as an observation. So overall, I think P&S is pretty cool. I know some people like it. It does say that it enhances gloss and slickness, so I'm assuming that it leaves non-permanent materials behind, and I'd love them to state that on the bottle, but I can infer it from the fact that it enhances gloss and slickness. So 9th place for P&S Absolute. So next up, in joint 7th or 8th, because it's picked up the same amount of marks as the next product I'm going to show you, with 37 points, is Labocosmetica Idrosev. Go to the Italiano, eh? I bet that means save water. Now price, again, it's smack on the market average, costing around £25.96 per litre, which yields a cost per wash of around £1.95. The price per litre is bang on average. The cost per wash is slightly higher. The instruction label tell you to use it at 1 to 200, but I believe on various distributor websites it can be used at 1 to 256. I've got to go by the label. So it's 2.5 stars out of value, close to the market average. The cleaning power on this is 7th out of 12th, so it's somewhere in the mid-order, which is fine. The dirt release was 9th out of 12th, so it pulled less dirt out of the microfiber than some of the other products. The scratch marring test actually came first with the least amount of visible marring during the scratch test. And I'm wondering if that's because while you're doing that test, it's leaving something behind which might fill some of the scratches, or maybe that material is actually providing lubrication. I guess ultimately it doesn't matter. It come first in the scratch marring test. It also did something very strange during the scratch marring test that was very cool. It separated the sort of abrasive slurry of FeO2 from the water very rapidly. None of the other ones did that. I haven't marked it for that quality, but it was like, it was pulling the FeO2 out of the water and just leaving clean water behind, which was really, really kind of cool. It was a party trick. User experience was second overall. They got their instructions right, and they do give you some examples that you can use this as a quick detailer or a waterless wash. And it has a QR link to its socials. I marked it down a little bit because the font size of the instructions was also tiny, same with another product, and it spans across the bottle, and you have to twist the bottle in your hand as you're trying to read it. But all the health and safety stuff was there, and all the information on ratios was there, and the instructions are actually pretty good. Second overall in user experience, and a really nice branded bottle. On the panel test, if you like, or using it on the same car with the same protection, with all the same products, you know, at the other time to get a feel of how it is, I felt it was as slick as any of them, so I gave it the 5 for the wet wipe, the 4 for the dry wipe, so not quite slick as some of the others, and a 3 for the hazing, so the residues were just slightly slower to come off the panel, so a 5, 4, 3. So a decent showing for this, but this product has some USPs that might make it clear cut that you'll either really want to use it or you won't. It's the only product that I think leaves permanent protection behind, and they do make that clear on the label, which is important to me, so I know it leaves permanent protection or nano sealant behind. That sealant is very hydrophobic, and the little test panel from where I was doing the scratch marring test on, where the material was on it, was really beady afterwards. So if you're looking to top up your protection while you're doing your rinseless wash, this is the only product in the test which will give you a level of protection which you could classify as like a sealant. You know, it's good. The fact that you could also then utilise that as a QD means that you could decant some of this at the ratio they provide and have loads of quick detailer, which could be a bargain. So there's some real good positives there in topping up protection, and the beading's really cool. But that positivity could also be a negativity, that you might want a rinseless wash to prep a car with. You might not want it to interfere with it. You wouldn't use this as a clay lube because you'd be putting down sealant. So some people might have a preference not to have a sealant. But overall, I think HydroSave is an interesting rinseless wash, and I think they're deeply invested in it with their rinseless pre-wash, if you like. They've got 2 of them. One's acidic, one's alkaline. That shows they've got an interest in it, and they've got some accompanying products which could make them like the go-to specialist in rinseless washes, and I like that ambition, and I like that statement. So I think HydroSave is an interesting product, but it's perhaps not for me because I'm not looking for a sealant, although it hasn't been penalised in this test for that. So there we go, joint 7th and 8th, Labo Cosmetica HydroSave. So next up, guys, nearly at the halfway point when we've done this one, Armour Detail Supply Hero Rinseless Wash, 37 points as well. Let's start with the price. So it's available in 473ml, and then it jumps up to its bulk US litre thing. I have to compare it on its nearest litre price to some of these that don't have bulk offerings. And I think most people will be perhaps buying a bottle. But you can get it cheaper with a few of these products if you go for bulk. But £38, 5 pence per litre based on the translated price of this 473ml bottle, whereas your market average is about £26. And some of them go very cheap on the price per litre as we go through the test. The cost per wash, £2.24, market average £1.50 roughly. Second most expensive to use every time it goes on the panel, which means it came 11th in the price, so it doesn't get good points there. Cleaning power as well, a bit like the DIY detail, it was in 10th, so it didn't really do much in terms of clearing my dirt sim. Dirt release though, first. So the dirt that was in the microfiber or the wash media, all of it came out. I mean, all of it. Literally all of it. I could wash my underpants in this stuff. Like, so good at getting the dirt out of the wash media. It's got a little claim to fame there. That was really impressive. Third in the scratch marring. So I said that most of them came in that base sort of joint last 7th place. This, there seemed to be less marring on the panel. There is a slight hydrophobic effect from this. Maybe that's the SiO2 that's in it, a film of that being left behind. I don't know if it leaves permanent protection behind. I don't think it does. But a slight hydrophobic effect I noticed. Maybe could that be providing some filling effect that's accounting for that, a bit like the Labo? I don't know, but yeah, it's a positive on that scratch marring test. Instructions, good, really nice preamble and good uses instructions, examples of how you can use it as a clay lube, waterless wash, Perhaps they could provide some other examples as well of things you can do with it, interiors and all that sort of stuff. They do have a QR code, so you can go to their page, which then will link you to their socials, so you can go and dig around and learn a bit about the products from them, the brand and all that sort of stuff. Instructions, though, again, with this brand, the font size is too small. And I think my criticism is when they revise their label constructively, I would increase your font size to make it easier to read. On the panel, now there is something I've noticed with this. Out of all the products, when it's wet, I find this the least slick. And indeed, when I was doing the scratch marring test, I was struggling with it because it was biting in a little bit to the panel and squeaking a bit, whereas a lot of the others were smoother. And when I use it on the panel test, the wet slickness wasn't quite there. I believe there may be a new version of it coming along. I wonder if they're going to improve slickness on it. However, when you buff it, the dry slickness was great and there was minimal haze. So in terms of 555, wet dry haze, I gave it a 255. So it's a game of two halves, and I just made an observation. I don't think it's slick. So an overall summary, this product I think has credible dirt repellency in pulling the dirt out of your wash media, if you like that. Perhaps some improvements around marring, but it's not slick when it's wet. The cleaning power is down a little bit relative in this field. And the price, I think, ultimately is the problem. Yeah, but apart from that, I think this is a favourite with some people. I can see why, and that's not overall a bad showing. So Armour Detail Supply, 7th to 8th position. So now we're in the top half, guys. So in 6th place with 36.5 points is Wolfgang Concurs Series Uber Rinseless Wash. Now, the price for this is around £42.18 per litre when you translate this cost. Which is expensive chemical cost, but its cost per wash is about £1.60, so it's only just over average. And it does that because it works at a slightly higher concentration than the others, getting near to 1 to 400 with how much you use it. So it's not particularly expensive to use, but it's a bit expensive to buy. So overall value is about 2.5 star, 7th overall in the price rankings. Funny enough, cleaning power, 4th. So this did have some noticeable, measurable effect on my dirt simulator film on the test panel, which was kind of cool. However, in the dirt release test, it came 11th. So it didn't pull the dirt out of the microfiber. I'll use other footage of that's better, that's got less exposure on it than some of the others that really cleaned that microfiber. It also stained that microfiber. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Scratch marring tests though, 4th, so there was a noticeable improvement over that baseline kind of average. I suspect this product, and I think from the instructions, it seems to leave something behind and adds a slight hydrophobic effect. So again, there's a correlation with the products that are leaving stuff behind and are having reduced visible marring. So that might be interfering with it all. But instructions overall was rating, or user experience rating overall, was slightly below average. Give me the ratio, rather than the measurements things. Give me links to social media. A lot of them mention about using in the sun as well, which is something they didn't talk about here. But they do instruct you can use it as a clay lube or a pre-soak application method, which is good. Like I say, I think it leaves behind non-permanent protection that has a slight hydrophobic effect. Now onto the on-the-panel testing. The wet wipe I gave this 5 star for. But this one I gave a 5 for on the dry wipe, and I think it's the only one. No, it's not the only one, but I think if I went into more detail, this has the noticeably slickest dry wipe buff on it, which I find really appealing actually. And the haze mark I gave 4 out of 5 for, so perhaps better than average. So it's a 554. So the on the panel kind of feel of this product, which is really important to some people, but really hard to quantify, I thought was quite good. So very slippery when you dry it. So an overall summary of the Wolfgang Uber Rinseless Wash. This has a slick dry wipe as its main claim to fame. The dye level in it, when you use it as a clay lube ratio, it has left a pink hue on microfiber. But when you also use it as its rinseless wash ratio, clean new microfiber has a slight hue of pink to it, and people in the comments have said when they accidentally spill a bit of this on their carpet, don't know why you've got carpet there, you're taking it inside, it's neat ratio, it does kind of stain because it's so concentrated with the dye. So I think any constructive feedback there, Wolfgang could perhaps lower the dye level in the product because that's causing some slight issues. The practical cost or the chemical cost of it is a little bit high, and it didn't have that dirt release like I said. So, but slick overall, not bad, and that dry wipe slickness is really desirable. So I think it's quite good, but it isn't my favourite. So it is what it is. But a tempting offer of a rinseless wash, I think the Uber one. So in 5th place with 36 points is Gyeon ECO Wash. Now in the price rankings, this came 8th. It's a little bit of a game of two halves because you can get a litre of this for £22, which is relatively cheap, £4 below the market average. But based on the concentration range that they give me on this bottle, which is using between 50 to 80 ml in 12 litres, its average usage ratio is 1 to 184. But I believe Gyeon have said on their socials and in the comments that you can use this at 1 to 256. And I think they're going to make some changes to the labelling to reflect that. But in this test, I've used it as 1 to 184, which is the mid-range of their range, which yields a cost of £1.80 per wash, which is 30p over the market average. So yeah, an 8th place overall on price. Cleaning power on the test panel was 9th place overall, so it wasn't able to shift my dirt simulator and show me that it's got that real high-end cleaning power. Dirt release test was 5th, so it seemed to get a large chunk of the dirt out of the microfiber, but there was a big heavy bit in the middle which it didn't shift. Scratch marring test, though, it came 2nd. Again, this product, I believe, claims to add gloss, slick, glossy and enhanced finish, so there may be some material that is being left behind that perhaps doesn't fall into the category of durable protection but is some form of protection, and there is indeed a slight hydrophobic effect after you've used this. Does that mean that it's the material that's hiding the scratches or the material that's reducing the scratches? I don't know. Looking at the instructions, there's a couple of things that can be improved. After they tell you to use the product and wipe it over the panel, they've forgotten to put an instruction in there, or it's not in there, to dry off that panel with a microfiber towel or whatever you're using to dry it, or else you tend to get that film and that uneven film of product. So I don't think you would just wipe this over the panel and leave it as such. You would dry it off, but maybe you don't. They also use the abbreviation letters MF to refer to microfiber, and it just struck me that some people might not understand what that abbreviation is referring to. In terms of usage, you can use it as a quick detailer at higher concentrations, or a concentration they give you, or a waterless wash, which is good. Miss the opportunity to perhaps tell you about using it as a pre-soak, which a lot of them do. You could spray it on first and then use it. They also don't tell you that ratio on the bottle, which is something I like to see. They do have a good QR code to social media as always, which I think modern brands are going to be doing more and more of, and I think you should. On the panel, it felt good. It was a 554, one of only products to get the 554. Nobody got 555. McKee's, O&R and Wolfgang got the 554. As slick as any of them when it's wet. Maybe the DIY might have a little slick wet thing going on, but as slick as any of them when they're dry. Again, maybe the Wolfgang deserved a 6, but I didn't go up to 6. But the hazing was really minimal on this, so it doesn't leave like a residue that you're waiting, and you might be tempted to keep buffing to get it bone dry. It's nice when you just wipe over and it's clear, and then you've got a clean surface without having to wait around or fight any streaking, which is good. So a summary of the Gyeon. It's also an SiO2 based one as well, so if you're into all the tech, you might like that, along with the Armour, which is SiO2. It's mid-priced, it has good scratch marring, it does leave some materials behind that increase gloss and slickness and all that sort of stuff. I guess the negatives are it hasn't aced any test, and because it wasn't the cheapest, because it didn't have the best cleaning power, there's some products that have been able to usurp it in this test. But now we're moving on to the top 4, where we're getting into the real contenders, I guess, for pole position. So let's move on. Next up in fourth place, picking up 35 points, is Feynlab Pure Rinseless Wash V3. Let's start with the price. This came in with an overall price ranking of 5th out of 12 in this test. It costs around £22.95 per litre, which is about £3 below market average. The cost per wash at around its usage ratio of 1 to 250 is around £1.38, which again is about 12p cheaper than the market average. So you can see why it got 5th. Now, cleaning power. Overall, this came second in the cleaning power test, but I think personally it's the strongest cleaner in this test. I've gone with the test results. So it's got 5-star cleaning power and a very strong degreasing effect, and a very strong effect down at that ratio of 1 to 250, which really just shocked me how powerful it is at that ratio. Very strong cleaner for these. I usually think of these rinseless washes as having relatively mild cleaning power, but being more about the lubrication system and the encapsulation. Well, this has got some grunt. In the dirt release test, it came 4th overall. Is that because of encapsulation and pulling dirt out of it, or is it just so strong it melts off that dirt? Don't know. It came 4th, so it got some good points there. In the marring test, though, it was with the baseline where they all came in joint 7th, so there wasn't any improved marring reduction that I could easily measure. But that's the case with all of them that didn't leave anything behind, so that test is what it is. I'll talk about that in my after the gossip video at the end, which I'll do another video on. We'll go for all the real purists, we'll go into sort of a lot of the detail. The user experience, it wants you to use it as a 2-bucket wash, really, and I think they should just avoid that. The fact no one else has included that. I didn't really cost them any marks. There's no preamble on the instructions about what a rinseless wash is, though. They just go straight into this is how you use it. And also, there's no alternative methods. So it doesn't say mix it down like this to use it as a clay lube. Use it as an interior cleaner at this ratio and all that. There's nothing on that. They do provide you with a ratio, though. 1 to 250. They do provide you with a QR link to socials. Got all the health and safety stuff on there. So, yeah, but the overall user experience could be improved with a better quality label, I think, and more examples of how to use it. On the panel, I gave it a 533. Wet, dry, haze. So wet, it felt nice and slippery, but maybe that's because it's quite surfactant rich. Dry, it didn't seem quite as slick as some of the other ones, and just a little bit of, once you've wiped it, just a little bit of time for that residue to kind of disappear, but nothing that would turn you off the product. So overall, good value, deep cleaning, like incredible cleaning power, which might make it really suitable that if you're doing rinseless washes, and you have to use rinseless wash because you don't have free-flowing water and you've got to prep a car, this might be one of the best or the best prep wash rinseless. Or it might be the best to use if you've got a really dirty car and you've got to use the waterless wash. You might not want to, or rinseless wash. So yeah, definitely a claim to fame and a USP that it's a really powerful cleaner, this one. Some of the negatives though, guys, it's really surfactant rich. Like even in the bucket mixed down at 1 to 250, the surfactant is foaming out of the microfiber cloth, unlike any of the other ones. So some of the rinseless wash purists might not like the user experience with this, with the level of surfactant and foaming and that. It almost feels a bit more like a traditional contact wash detergent, but it isn't. I trust it's a legit rinseless wash, but some people might not like that. But 4th place in this test is a good showing, and it's been able to get there by demonstrating that cool clean power, but also because it was 5th in the price comparison, it kept up with the pack. So an interesting product with some unique reasons why you might want to pick it in this test, and 4th overall is a good showing. In 3rd place on the podium is Optimum No Rinse, also known as ONR, version 5. So this stuff's been around for a long time. We always know it's a tried and tested product, but how good really is it? Well, let's start with the price. It's actually 4th place on value, costing around £23.20 when you convert this 946 millilitre offering up to a litre, which is about £2.80, roughly less than the market average. and around a cost per wash of 137, which again is probably about 13p less than the market average. And I've said use it at the magic 1 to 256 ratio predominantly as a rinseless wash, but it's got some other features. Cleaning power, interestingly, it came third in that test and had a good noticeable impact on my test panel. And for more of this kind of polymer encapsulation technology one, I tend to think of the cleaning power as being down on those, and it's more reliant on lubrication, but it actually showed me a good level of ability to clean. Dirt release, it came 8th, so it's lost some marks there. It could have performed better in that category. Marring, it was one up from the bottom ranking of 7th because there was so many at that base level. So perhaps some slight improvements on the marring level on the test panel. It does leave stuff behind. It's a wash and shine again, but it's not durable protection. It doesn't add beading or hydrophobicity that I can measure, but I think it leaves something behind that increases gloss and perhaps slickness, and then that material will be gone, the next time you wash it. It's not durable protection. But maybe that's, again, interfering with my ability to view the fine marring that these products leave, because we've seen that pattern now all the way through this test. The user experience on this is good. Their instructions are good, and they really, probably more than any other brand, go into some of the benefits of using washes, rinseless washes, like the water softening reduces hard water spotting, save money on product, safe for exterior and interior, streak 3, and some good preamble stuff on them. So they sell it a little bit, which is something that's useful if you're new to these genre of products. They give you all the ratios, and they just put a simple list of all the other types of uses: wash solution, clay lube, quick detail, interior, glass, home cleaning, and all the ratios. So it did quite well on that. So overall, a good user experience with it. On the panel, I gave it a 554. Very slick when dry and wet. And no issues with hazing, but not quite as rapid to go back to a clear panel as the Armour. So not a 555 and 554. And perhaps, not the slickest dry white, but still absolutely fine. So overall, ONR, I think, represents good value. It has that pedigree in its ability to encapsulate dirt that we kind of know about. A good user experience, but also a decent cleaning power in there. And overall, a product that's been able to demonstrate to me that it's worthy of the kind of reputation that it has. And importantly, it's competitive on price. So overall, it's managed to rank really well and come third in this test. And I do like this product. So that's Optimum No Rinse in third position. Okay, so in second place, picking up 30 marks, is Carbon Collective Evolve. Interesting product. That's got some good stuff to talk about. But let's start with the meat and veg and the belt and braces, the price. Well, this product here at a litre offering is going to cost $19.99 on release, £6 below the market average, which is really good. But you use it at a ratio of 1 to 480 as a rinseless wash, which gives a cost per wash of 61p, which is nearly 4 times cheaper than the most expensive products in this cost, which is really significant. So every time you use this, you could save like £1.80 over the competition. If you times that by 50, you could be like over hundreds of pounds each year in saving the cost per wash. Well, it's only 100 quid, John, but it's one product. So that product thing, if you're using the most expensive on the market in every genre rather than the most high value, then you could be paying thousands of pounds more, to the point where it gets so expensive being into all this detailing that you're better off paying a professional detailer to come and do it. So the cost per wash of some of these products is getting a bit out of control. So you know me. But anyway, let's move on. Next, cleaning power, rank number 1 in this test. It is right up there with Feynlab. Even if on paper or in my head I think Feynlab might have an edge, they're both very powerful cleaning products, and this had a noticeable punch on my dirt simulator, even at lower concentrations. But yeah, very powerful product. Now, dirt release, it came 6th, so you could argue that's somewhere in the middle, so it could improve on that. But is it getting the dirt release because of its powerful kind of cleaning power? I don't know. Marring, it was at the base 7th, so it lost an opportunity there. But again, it's a product that leaves nothing behind on the panel. So, you know, it is what it is. User experience on this product is good. There's a little preamble on rinseless washes. There's a whole variety of how you can use this product. Glass and interior at a different ratio, dust and watermark removal, panel wipe, which is interesting. Normally I wouldn't recommend using rinseless washes as panel wipes. But the power of this product, I think it might actually be able to do a good job as a panel wipe. You can use it also as a pre-wash, and you can use it as a bug and grime remover on its own and spot treat with it. And obviously rinseless wash, bucket wash method, if you like. So yeah, it's versatile. They could include ratios rather than use X amount of liquid to Y amount of volume, which is what they do. But I'd love to just see somewhere on there you can use our ratio for this product in a bucket wash is 1 to 480. So it gives a standard of which you can easily compare across. So I've done the same with other brands. I like the fact that you can use it as a panel wipe. Yeah, there's another thing with this product is it starts off life orange in the bottle, and then when you mix it with water it evolves and goes green. We'll talk about that, like a fluorescent green. We'll talk about that in a second. The only area where I think it could be improved perhaps is on the panel. It doesn't have the same feel as some of these waterless washes. Now some people feel that these rinseless washes, I keep saying rinseless or waterless, you know what I mean. Some people feel they're just like rubbing water over your panel, but there's a slight difference, and some of them have a slight different feel over the panel. This to me feels a bit more like surfactanty and less kind of, I don't know, it's just a different feel to the American rinseless. They've got something going on with their polymer technology. So part of my head thinks that this might not be as a kind of slick experience as some of the others, and it might be more of a cleaner rinseless wash, a bit like the Feynlab, which isn't a bad thing. It's like a USP, but I'm not sure if everyone will like that. But overall, guys, the reason it's come second is because we put those test results and stuff and the testing in there to get rid of my thoughts and just bang it all out, crunch the numbers and see where it comes. So value for money, boom. Cleaning power, boom. Lots of versatility and different ways to use it, boom. So you're kind of off to a good start there. But yes, my negatives, and I will talk about them. The colour change thing, for me, it made me chuckle because I didn't know it, did it? I suppose the evolve and the little colour change in the text gives it away, but I didn't even spot that because I'm not the sharpest tool. But it made me chuckle when it turned green. But hand on heart, I would just rather it didn't do that because I know I think it's got nothing to do with anything other than a clever thing. I'm 48 years old, but if I was in my 20s, that could make me buy it if I saw something on it and it was changing colour. So I get it, but I just personally wouldn't have it. I haven't penalised it because of that. And I don't feel it has that encapsulation kind of quality of the American products. But to come second is great. You know, and it's a product that even if you do sort of want a more kind of polymer kind of experience or whatever, you're sold on these American ones, it's different, and I would recommend you tried it. And I think most people will like it and appreciate it and like the fact that you could use it as a panel wipe as well. And I think it will degrease more than something like the McKee's as a panel wipe, from what I've seen in the testing. So yeah, second place overall, Carbon Collective Evolve Rinseless. And finally, the winner of this test, coming in first place, is Koch RRW Rapid Rinseless Wash, picking up 29 points. Let's start with the value proposition. £12.95 a litre. That's half the market average cost per litre. Cost per wash 76p, which is second only to the Carbon Collective. So its value rank was 2 out of 12 in this test. But essentially, you can't get a cheaper chemical for a litre of rinseless wash from what we've compared. And the next most expensive one is $19.99. There's a lot of brands that won't want to sell you a litre of rinseless wash for £12.95 and can't really operate at that sort of cost. So Koch are putting the squeeze on the competition, which is what I want to see. Let's go on to cleaning power. So it came fifth, which is a decent showing, but there's 4 products in here that perhaps clean better than it. But fifth is a good good thing in some ways, because some of those products are mega powerful. So fifth is fine, it is what it is. Dirt release though, third, and I think that's really good. Credit where credit's due, Armour and DIY had a noticeable edge in releasing dirt out of the wash media, but a third, again, is a really solid showing for that. So I wanted to see that a product has got some of that tech. Maybe it shows it's got some tech, it can do something clever, but maybe if I chuck it in a glass of water, it won't separate or whatever, who knows. The wash marring, it didn't have any improved reduction in marring over all of the base ones, and we've seen now in this test that most of the ones that impart gloss had an improvement there, and there's probably some flaws in the testing. I don't know if a scientific test exists where you could test wash-related marring accurately. I've probably failed to do so. I've done my best. User experience, generally the instructions and preamble are good. They make it clear that it does... Well, don't make it clear, but they say it leaves a smooth surface behind and it has a preservation effect. So it perhaps again falls into that category of non-permanent protection. They give you the ratio. They give you one alternative usage option to pre-soak your vehicle rather than just the bucket wash. But Koch could give you some more options with it to use it as a clay lube or interior and clarify some of that. They could also include a QR code with some links to some social stuff, which would just improve the user experience and help them sell more product. Overall, big value for money is when I'm going to buy a rinseless wash, and I buy them by the litre, this would be the one that I'd buy because I don't want to spend a fortune with all of the products. I've got so many products. If you amplify that by every product and all these margins, you buy the most expensive ones and it's just so expensive. I like the fact it's demonstrated dirt release to me and good cleaning, but it also has the feel of and the pedigree of the USA ones with, you know, with that feeling on the panel. Going to that, I gave it a 554 with the wet wipe, the dry wipe and the hazing. So it just seemed, I didn't have any problems with it. You know, that can fall into the old triquarter category where if you've got like hands that are as good as tricquarters in Star Trek, you might be able to separate them a bit more. You know, and some of them I said the Wolfgang might have a slight edge in the dry wipe and all that sort of stuff. But essentially when you use it on a car, I don't see any problems with like residues or difficult to buff or anything like that. So I know that I can just use this as a rinseless wash. So that's it for me, guys. Overall, you know, in the UK, we probably have less disposable income, it's fair to say, than our USA brethren. And I think price with my viewers is always an important thing. But it's not just about the price for this one. I think this is probably my favourite rinseless wash in the test. We put it through, we crunched the numbers, and it's come out in first place. I'll just do my conclusions now on this video and we will end it. Finished. I can now get rinseless washes off my brain. These products have been on my brain for the last God knows how many weeks while I've been doing this testing, and every time I go in and my missus talks to me, she gives up and just looks at me and said, "You're like spaced out in a zone." And I'm thinking about rinseless washes and what I've been testing and all this sort of stuff, and it consumes me, and I like it when I finish the test because I can move on to another chapter. Just some little details. Thank you to every brand that's in this test. Yes, we are criticising them, which is a difficult thing for me to do, and I know it's a difficult thing as well to hear it when they're your products. But we do that with good intent to try and separate these products. Okay, this is also just an attempt. Someone else could come in here and attempt to do it and come up with a completely different ranking. You may have favourites. You might like the Autoglym, you might like the Armour, you might like the DIY, you might like the McKees. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. We're splitting the atom with this particular test. What else, guys? 8 of the products have been bought. 3 of them were on pre-release. So the Gyeon, the Koch and the Carbon Collective were all just being released. So I got them sent to me for free before they're available to the public. So that may create bias. The Wolfgang got sent to me free of charge by Lintech, who are the UK distributors, because it was out of stock and they're restocking. They had 1 bottle. So if you don't buy them, you should tell people. You should, I think, try and buy all of the products that you do in this test, and I do if I can. But anyway, that's that information. Is there anything else? So, one final thing. These products all have different scents. This has a cherry scent, the Wolfgang, with a slight hint of swimming pool. The Autoglym has a pineapple pear droppy scent. The Labo has some sort of fresh scent I can't describe. The Optimum No Rinse has a slightly fermented cherry winey kind of smell. It's quite strange. McKee's has a fruity scent. Carbon Collective has a strawberry fruity scent. Gyeon has this kind of fresh, maybe a hint of citrus in it. Carbon Collective, a kind of fresh scent. Feynlab, a kind of a fresh scent. Maybe a little hint of lavender, I don't know. Gyeon has a fresh pineapple scent. DIY has a fresh pineapple scent, not the same scents, they're not the same materials. And Armour has a watermelon scent. For those of you that are interested in scent, I couldn't really give a monkeys about that personally, but there you go. Put your comments, which products you like, which products you didn't see in this test that you wanted to see, what future tests you'd like to see, and I'll do my best. Over and out.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when you